have already discussed about in the first module of our discussion, of today's discussion, we have discussed about how do we define a corporation, and we have also discussed about whether corporates do have a moral responsibility or not. Now we will be focusing our discussion on, do corporates have a social responsibility or not, and why do they think like they have a social responsibility. We will try to focus on two views of corporate social responsibility, whether first view is for the sort of self enhancement of the business. It should be taking some business should be taking the responsibility towards the society, which we talk of corporate social responsibility, and the other view could be the moral perspective of it. So let us study these two different perspectives. When we talk of business reasons for which the corporation should be taking some social responsibility, the first view, what we call the business reasons, is called the enlightened self-interest view of the corporate social responsibility, which talks of the fact like if the business is doing something for the society, then it helps to gain more satisfied customers. Customers will be happy in buying from organization whom they think are doing good for the society or giving back to the society. So first is it helps in getting extra and or more customers, satisfied customers. Second is employees will be more satisfied in working for or committed for these type of organizations. And whenever we are talking of corporate social responsibility, we should be understanding, which will elaborate more further in the discussion of stakeholders, is it is not only the responsibility like that we are taking for the external stakeholders of the corporates, but also we are talking of the internal stakeholders for the organization. So when employees maybe find a good working condition, measures of well-being taken for them, a good amount of incentives, rewards and compensation which helps them to maintain a proper living condition, standard of life, this will help them, or which has a proper work environment in terms of both like the physical and the psychological climate within the organization. So it will help them to identify more with the organization, and they will feel attracted to work for that organization. So again, forestall legislation. So if they are following certain ethical principles, so it's already some, if laws are there, so you're abiding by it, so nothing of legal pressures on them. 4, which we talk of long-term investment which benefits corporation. So what is this long-term investment? Is this investment helps to bring in goodwill for the organization, and in that case it is an investment, long-term investment, which helps to develop the image of the organization in the society's mind, and that positive image helps to maintain the build up the reputation for that organization, and this reputation helps in its further business and sustainability of the business in the long run. So these are called the self-enhancement or self-interest, enlightened self-interest views of why, from the business perspective, business reasons of why a corporation should be going or are going for corporate social responsibility. But if we are only focusing on these business reasons of why a corporation should be responsible for taking up certain responsibilities for the society in terms of doing certain CSR practices. So this is maybe a narrow concept of looking into the things, and it like eases out the responsibility, the moral responsibility that the corporation may have for the society at large. So when we are taking the moral responsibility, when you're taking the moral reasons for why the corporation should be going for corporate social responsibility, we are looking into the transactions that the corporation has entered into with the society at large and the other stakeholders at large. And what we try to see is whether the transactions are like well balanced, in the sense is the things that the corporation is taking in as input and the return that is giving back, is it well balanced or not? What is the degree of positivity and what is the degree of harm involved in this relationship? So what we find in many cases, as we discussed when we discussed with the problems of globalization in the last module, is sometimes corporations introduce social problems in nature of social injustice done, imbalances created, artificial divisions created, and by the nature of its products and services. So it is a moral responsibility also to reduce the harm produced in this way. Corporations have a responsibility of using their power in a responsible way, so that because they are embedded in a society and they are drawing their resources, being embedded in the society or at the environment at large, they have to use their power in a responsible way, and through the way of doing its business, it cannot give any purposefully create certain imbalances and then disrupt the tranquility which is there, and it has to take care like this is reduced to the greatest extent which is possible. And all the activities of the corporates have some or other social impacts. We just cannot tell like whatever we have done, it doesn't have any social impact. We may not realize it, we may not see it, because that is the limitation maybe of the moral imagination of us, but we just cannot deny the fact that whatever we do has some or other social impact. Corporations rely not only on the shareholders, but it has to rely for its existence. The corporation has to rely on all the stakeholders contributing to it, and these stakeholders are a very wide set of stakeholders. So it is not that the shareholders only are providing for the organization, but it is all the stakeholders together who are into a relationship with the corporation, and the corporation has to take care of all these things. Here we should mention, like, the shareholders do have a limited liability to the organization. In the sense, the shareholders, because they don't own the assets of the organization, they are not responsible for the damages done by the organization to the stakeholders at large. So the shareholders, they are entitled to the dividends, and they enjoy the right of taking or participating in some of the decision making process of the organizations, but they do not have any responsibility for the damage or harm produced by the organization by the nature of its business or the ways of doing things to the other stakeholders or the society at large. This is called the limited liability of the shareholders. But we'll discuss in details also about it in the next modules when we talk of responsible investment, so that the shareholders can also to some extent try to influence on in which business I am investing, and to inquire like whether they do follow ethical principles and sustainable business practices. So what we can understand from here, like when you talk of corporate social responsibility, it is not only the business reasons, it is not only the moral reasons, but it is the mutuality of both the reasons together. It is the coexistence of both the reasons together which motivates the organization to take up responsibilities which we term as corporate social responsibilities. Now we'll try to discuss about the different natures or the different levels of responsibilities, how we can classify or arrange it in some hierarchical way, which we tell like these are the maybe the preliminary, middle, or the topmost level of is showing whether the organization or the corporate has some social responsibility or not. Here we'll discuss about the model given by Carroll et al. So before we proceed to the model, let us check into the definition of corporate social responsibility, which talks of corporate social responsibility includes the economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic expectations placed on organizations by the society at a given point in time. So you see there are four different things written. It includes the economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic expectations placed on the organization by the society at a given point in time. With this definition, we'll move forward to understand the model given by Carroll et al. So what we find over here at the lowermost rung, here you find economic responsibilities written. So what are these economic responsibilities here? Like this is the first expectations requirement by the society, first expectation, primary expectation from the society in terms of the economic benefits that you give to the society at large, which talks of like you provide employment to the people of the where you're doing your business, you pay salary to them, then you give like maybe tax which helps in increasing the corpus, and that money gets utilized for the benefit of the society at large. So these are clubbed under the economic responsibilities that the organization is having towards the society, and these are called required by the society, because this is the first level of relationship and this is a must to be done. Without doing it, so and this is mainly, you can see this is both for the stakeholders who are inside and outside the organization, because if you have taken in employees, it is your first responsibility to take care that they have a decent salary or wage, and you make them regular payments and you take care, because that takes care of their existence. So you give employment to people from that society, you try to enhance their, uplift their living conditions. So these are part of economic responsibilities that the organization is having towards the society, and it is an essential requirement. Next, higher up, when you're talking of economic responsibilities, next you find higher up here, which is a well defined thing, which we talk of the legal responsibilities. When you are talking of the legal responsibilities, this is where the law comes to place. In the last discussion, if you remember, we have discussed about two aspects of like having ethics and law, and there is a overlap and also a gray area. So whenever we are talking of legal responsibilities, it means it is expected, it is a requirement of the society that the organization coming and doing business in a particular area, particular region, follows the rules, regulations as defined by that land. The codes like written for, maybe the minimum wages act is there, equal employment is there. So all other required contracts, whichever are followed. So whatever rules and regulations are there defined by the legislation, that the organization needs to follow. It just cannot do away without following the stated law of the land. So these are called the legal responsibilities of the organization, and these are required by the society. So if you can see the model again, the first two things are written as required by the society, and so these are the like necessary type of conditions. If you have to do business, you have to do these two things. But next, when you're talking of ethical responsibilities, these are, if you see, starts with expected by the society. So from here, what we can understand, when you talk of ethical responsibilities, here nothing is legally defined as yes, you have to follow this, yes, you have to do this, but it is your conscience, it is the organization's understanding and its organization's ways of defining right and wrong, for the concerned stakeholders, that certain steps that they do, that they take to do things which may not be defined by the legislation, by the law, or it is not a part of their economic responsibilities also, but you think this needs to be given, it would be right to do things in this way, and that's how you take up. These are called your ethical responsibilities. So, but when it again gets, as we discussed in the last class, when it gets defined by law, today what is ethical responsibility may become your legal responsibility tomorrow, if when this comes under the well defined under the laws. Suppose now for providing facilities for transport for women employees who are working till late hours at night, if you may feel like it is a part, if there are no laws defining it, ethical responsibility of either designing your job schedules in certain way, like women do not have to work till late hours, but again if it gives rises to question of discriminations, then what you may so do is to introduce systems in your organization in terms of transports and other things which facilitates women to work till late hours and also takes care of their safety and well-being of the employees. So this maybe, if not is stated by the law, like yes, as defined by the law, you have to do it, there is no legal pressure on you to do it, but still you do it because you think it is a part of your responsibility to take care of your employees, then this gets classified under ethical responsibilities, and that we talk to be expected by the society. Now if we move up to the higher level up, where we talk of like philanthropic responsibilities, this you see it's written desired by society. So this is the level where we cannot expect the organization to do, but if they do it, we feel like it is they have taken some positive steps for the society at large. So when philanthropic responsibility is where the organization increases its ambit for incorporating the society at large within its ambit and does something for the betterment of the society at large, then we talk it to be under the philanthropic responsibility. So suppose an organization helps in building up the road for the area like where it is there, or it establishes a hospital which is accessed by the people residents of that place in general. Though there is no legal pressure on it, though the large part of the society may or may not be under its like direct employment, but still it feels like because I have established my business over here, so it is a part of my responsibility also to give back to the society in certain way, then it comes under this philanthropic responsibility of the corporation to invest in these type of activities. So what we find, the pyramid has 4 different layers: economic, legal, ethical and philanthropic responsibility. So in economic, responsibilities, we talk it to be must done. Legal responsibilities are also to be must to be followed. Is the ethical responsibility, is the expectation of the society, in the sense like the way that you do your business, the way that you produce your services, goods or services, the process followed and the outcome is done in an ethically, morally right way, and that is the ethical responsibility of the organization towards the way that it does the business, or the way the outcome that is generated, and to keep a check on the what it gives back and how much it takes in return, how much harm it produces, and or how to minimize the harm. So these are expectations. And when you talk of the philanthropic layer, so that is without any pressure, without being expected, without being insisted upon, what you are giving back to the society at large, and how do you participate in those activities. Now again, a point of mention over here, now CSR activities have been have been made mandatory for corporates. Why? In some cases being left to themselves, like it depends, maybe because this layer which is talked of the philanthropic responsibilities for the organization, and it is not a requirement or expectation of the society, it remains to the willingness of the corporation either to participate or not to participate in activities which is in the way giving back to the society through some positive projects taken. So we hear of two things, like first the CSR contribution to from the profits that being made, a contribution of a percentage which has been mandatory for the corporates, and also we hear of a term which is called strategic corporate social responsibility, so that how at the business, in the way of doing the business itself, in the way that you see yourself being placed in the competitive scenario, so how do you incorporate CSR within your business system itself, so that that gets institutionalized in the way that you do business, and it gets reflected to all your stakeholders in the process of you doing your businesses, or the products and the services generated, and your contribution to the larger society. So these are the two associated terms that have got connected with the concept of corporate social responsibility. So when we are talking of corporate social responsibility, and we are comparing it in an international context, we see like there is a difference in the emphasis placed on the four different responsibilities that we have discussed about: economic responsibility, legal responsibility, ethical responsibility, and philanthropic responsibility, where across different regions. And if you see on economic responsibility, focus in USA is on the shareholders. France has extensive responsibility for employees. India has tradition of investment in the local community. All these are economic responsibilities, but whom we are focusing on is different based on different regions. When you're talking of legal responsibility, then Europe, there is a key enforcer of rules. Elsewhere, government seen with more skepticism, that is corruption and interfering with the liberty of the people or the organization. When you're talking of ethical responsibility, so this is what are the expectations vary from the of the society, vary from the organizations, and they have their own local ethical values, preferences, and corporations try to adjust to those expectations and do things accordingly. When you're talking of philanthropic responsibility, Europe tends to compel giving through a legal framework. Others in like USA, India, and China, companies are expected to share their wealth with the society at large. So there are different channels, different ways of giving, and different priorities set by the organization for each of the different responsibilities based on the region in which they are doing their business. Before we move on to the next slab of discussion, which is the stakeholder theory of the firm, we need to discuss and the stakeholder theory of the firm is very much related to the concept of corporate social responsibility that we discussed over here. We need to discuss about two more associated terms which are important in this context. One is that of corporate social responsiveness, and the other is that of corporate social performance. So in corporate social responsibility, we have discussed about the four different responsibilities that the corporates may be having. We may put it in the pyramid shape as shown by Carroll, or we may think of it is not in that pyramid shape. All are linked with each other and all are equally very important: economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic. It is not like first you do economic, then you do legal, then you do ethical, then at the end maybe you do philanthropic. But we can tell like all are on the same platform and all are connected with each other, and you have to put equal emphasis and all, and you have to do all together. It's not like after you do this then you do go to the next step. The way that you do it, these are your responsibilities. The way that you answer these responsibilities are called your corporate social responsiveness. So in corporate social responsiveness, how you respond to the requirements or the expectations or the desire of your society may have its different nature. Accordingly, corporate social responsiveness we can classify as you, in the sense the organization, being in a reactive mode. So when faced with certain trouble, when faced with certain pressures from the people who are protesting against your business activities, then you are taking certain measures to it's a damage control type of thing. First you have done your damage to the society at large, then people start protesting about it, then you do some damage control mechanism. So this is called corporate social responsiveness in a reactive mode. Then there can be other modes also, like you try to defend yourself. So in the defensive mode is what? So you understand, like there could be, you have done something wrong, there could be certain protests in the way that you have done your business. So you don't wait for the protest to be launched. So before that only you try to take certain measures and try to defend your activities by telling others are also doing it in the same way, what they have done to take care of the society at large. We are giving in terms of the economic responsibilities that we have taken care of. We are giving also in the terms of we are following the legal framework as defined by the law. So you try to fix up your reasons for defending yourself in the process of how you are doing your business. So either you are reacting or you are defending by keeping your justifications ready for what measures you have taken to give back to the society in terms of, or your stakeholders in terms of your, I think, like economic responsibilities done or legal responsibilities being taken care of. The third could be the accommodation, where you find like you try to listen to the what others are expecting from you, and what your stakeholders are expecting from you, and what they want from you, and you try to assimilate that, accommodate those expectations within your practices or your products or services, and then you try to tell these are and that's how you respond in terms of ethical or your social responsibility. Suppose if you understand like the, maybe when you're talking of safety, you can understand like maybe the product that you have produced may have misuse by, maybe you have done it for use by some rational adult person, but you can understand with the changing nature of the time and changing nature of the youth coming up, the children coming up. Suppose it's a TV and or a washing machine, and you can find like these can be, though nobody has protested, nobody has told you anything, nobody has given their expectations to you, but you can understand like yes, these are happening, so this could have a greater connotation, so I try to, or somebody has some incident have happened somewhere where somebody have expressed concerns, you try to accommodate those things in your product design or your services, and if you can introduce a child lock in your system. So these are the examples maybe of where you are accommodating or assimilating. So maybe that is concerned with the consumers. There could be examples regarding your like employees also, they could be regarding your suppliers also. So maybe from any stakeholders, can be from the environment, can be from the society at large. If it is so like some expectations have generated somewhere which they have expressed to the organization, or they have expressed to it others, so do I take care of those things and accommodate it in the things, the products or services, the way that I do the business and give back to the society. So this is called responding in terms of accommodating. The fourth and the higher level is that of proactiveness, which talks again of your moral imagination and how much you feel the organization feels like it is connected with the society at large, or the different stakeholders at large. So in that proactiveness, there is no pressure or expectations from any side, but you use your intelligence, you use your environmental scanning mechanisms to find out where expectations or may be generated, or where desires may come up, desires of the society, what the society may think like this is desirable for us, and if you take some proactive measures to answer to those needs, those expectations, these talks, nobody has like they're forced you to do it, nobody has asked you to do it, but you voluntarily, this voluntary nature is very important. You voluntarily take it up as an issue for yourself, and then you take certain ways of answering to those issues. Then it becomes a very proactive measure of answering to the social problems and or the expectations of your different stakeholders, and give it back to the society. Like if you take up any social issue as one of your issues, and you try to issues of what you are doing your business for, or whether you can feel like your business can make any contribution to that area, and you proactively orient your business in such a way, the processes in such a way, so that this gets connected to that larger purpose, then this is called a proactive orientation of how you are responding to your responding in terms of corporate social responsiveness. Like when we talk of like every product that you buy, a part of that money goes to either any of the millennium development goals that have been stated, and you take a proactive measure to propagate for that, and you design your system in that way, then it talks of the proactiveness and part of the organization to contribute for a social cause or a larger cause related to the any of the stakeholders. So this is the way that we can classify corporate social responsiveness, starting from we have done something wrong, we have provided certain harm, and if detected, if protested, we do some damage control mechanism, and we are in a reactive mode to a higher level of after reacting, or we are trying to do a self-defense of ourselves by telling like, yes, we have followed all the legal processes required, we have followed all the standards and norms required, so we are just restricting ourselves towards the thing which requires to be must be done type of thing, and we are not violating any legal requirements, and that's how we are defending ourselves. Third, we accommodate the expectations of the society expressed, concerns expressed, and we try to accommodate that within our products and services. And fourth, nobody has told us anything, nobody has expected us to do anything, but we voluntarily take up a cause of the society as the cause, and then we contribute towards it, which is and make our business geared towards is a part of our business, contribution goes towards it. So this is a proactive way. So these are 4 different levels. Next comes when you're talking of corporate social performance. So when you're discussing corporate social performance, so it is the third step, means we have a responsibility, 4 levels of responsibility or 4 different types of responsibility. We have different ways, 4 different ways of responding towards those responsibility, and the way that we respond gives rise to certain performances, and these performances could be like in terms of social policies, social programs, and social impacts. So when you're talking of social policies, maybe it can be at the policy level, like we told, like a part of the profit generated by the organization should be going towards the CSR activities, is at the policy level. Certain policies taken by the organization for which will have a will be used for this CSR things. So it could be at the policy framing level, it could be at the social program level also, where you take up small programs within your organization, and which creates certain difference or awareness in the society's mind about the different issues which are there present in the society, or if it can, so that is at the program level, which is in the local level. You take up certain programs and that helps to change, make some positive changes in the community or in the area or that you are functioning, or in the people that you are dealing with. Or you can think of social impacts, which is the larger impact that the organization may bring in for the society at large by moving through a movement that they have started, and that's how it produces a larger social impact, and it changes the life of the people, changes the life of, or it has a major positive, brings in some noticeably major positive changes in the for the community or for the environment, and it has a larger impact. So those are called social impacts, and in that respect only we are going to discuss the next things, like whenever we are talking of stakeholders. So these are what we have discussed is corporate social responsibility, corporate social responsiveness, and corporate social impacts. These are what the corporations are responsible for, what or in how they can respond to that responsibilities, or what result will be produced if they are responsible in certain way and respond in certain way. But again the major question lies, they are responsible to whom? So when we are discussing they are responsible, whom they are responsible to, in that context, in that connection, we will be discussing next the stakeholder theory of the firm. Thank you.